President Trump is going all in on mass deportation operations in America's largest cities.
Trump specifically said he wants to target, quote, sanctuary cities that are run by Democrats.
In a lengthy Truth Social post, the president started off by praising ICE officers. He then wrote, in part, "We must expand efforts to detain and deport illegal aliens in America's largest cities, such as Los Angeles, Chicago, and New York, where millions upon millions of illegal aliens reside. These and other such cities are the core of the Democratic Power Center, where they use illegal aliens to expand their voter base, cheat in elections, and grow the welfare state, robbing good paying jobs and benefits from hardworking American citizens. And that is why I want ICE, Border Patrol, and our great and patriotic law enforcement officers to focus on our crime-ridden and deadly inner cities and those places where sanctuary cities play such a big role. You don't hear about sanctuary cities in our heartland."
The New York Times reported that last week the Trump administration was reshifting its deportation focus away from farms, hotels, and restaurants. The president had admitted that his deportations were hurting agriculture and hospitality businesses. LA Mayor Karen Bass's team pointed to earlier comments of hers when Axios asked her for a response to Trump's latest Truth Social. Here she is on MSNBC.
So, you know, when you hit major sectors of our economy by creating a sense of fear, you really could destabilize the economy of Los Angeles, which was already tight from everything that had been going on.
I think Trump is realizing what a lot of Americans realize, especially small business owners, that everyone knows for years undocumented immigrants are the backbone of so many different industries, and we can't pretend like they're not. And also, having spent a lot of time reporting on specifically living in Colorado and Denver, understanding why migrants were there and having conversations with them, the large majority came to America to work, not to hang out, not to try to get free benefits. They actually want to work and create a better life for themselves. And yes, there's the whole argument about coming here the quote-unquote right way, but people are coming here to work. And I think the mass deportation policy is starting to have cracks in it because the very foundation is the sectors that he wants people, that have people that he wants to vote for him in. So, like, if he's ruining business owners' businesses, they're not going to be happy with his policies, even with the big, beautiful bill and these tax cuts. Like, it's like biting the hand that feeds you back and forth, or spiting your nose, cutting up your nose to spite your face. Like, it's a back and forth that he has to get a handle on because the irony is clear to me, he's even used quote-unquote illegal immigrants in his businesses. The Trump Towers, building his hotels. For decades, he's profited off migrant labor. And so he shouldn't pretend because he's in a different role as president that he doesn't also understand how these industries work.
Yeah, look, I think it's real simple. If you are a violent criminal illegal immigrant, if you are gang affiliated, if you are here just to take advantage of the welfare system or mob social services and not work, then you have to go. If you are here and you've been here for years and you are working and you are contributing to our nation it can be in large, important ways. If you're a very high-skilled immigrant, even an illegal immigrant, that's fine. Or as a worker in whatever it is, hotels, restaurants, farms, factories, etc., you're working, that's good. That is good for our country. You want to be here, that's fine. I don't want to deport those people. I don't want ICE doing random patrols of Home Depot or hotels or whatever, meat packing facilities. And I'm glad to hear Trump say that, you know what, that's really not going to work. That shouldn't be the policy. I think he needs to tell Stephen Miller that. Stephen Miller, who is a maniac, was yelling at ICE, saying they're not deporting enough people. You got to go out, find me more people to deport. Deport, deport, deport. Go. He was annoyed that they were prioritizing violent criminals. But of course, ask the American people. We do not have the resources to identify and deport all of the millions and millions and millions of people who've entered this country illegally. I understand some in the MAGA world will like to, I'm using this analogy a lot today, snap their fingers and have them magically gone, but there's no such thing as magic, can't do it, so we have to prioritize deportations, and we should prioritize violent criminals. That is what Americans want. I don't like this argument that I hear some people in MAGA make that, well, they're stealing jobs from hardworking Americans. It's silly. Look, if hardworking Americans want to do those jobs, then they can compete for those jobs. They don't want to compete at that. It's basically a way of saying there should be labor protections, there should be minimum wage, which is a Democratic standpoint, not a Republican standpoint. We want food to be cheaper. We want hotel services to be cheaper. We want consumer goods, we want things you buy at Home Depot. You want to pay more for wrenches? Nobody wants to. Maybe you do, MAGA, but the polling is that inflation is the price of things is the number one concern of voters. So we don't want to make things more expensive by targeting the labor pool, the cheap labor pool. We don't want to do that. It makes no sense. We want to deport violent gang-affiliated people. That's fine.
I think you're doing my job for me today.
Yeah.
Well, listen.
We agree on that. We're agreeing on too much today, I guess.
You can't campaign on mass deportations and then understand that you cannot afford to lose the same people you're trying to deport. I think that was the problem. And I also think the larger problem is the conversation that a lot of people in MAGA don't want to really have, is that this is the most effective policy, visually at least, to the world coming from President Trump, that he has the numbers way up as far as deportations, that he is effective, and we've seen way less border crossings, right? All because of his policy. This is why he had asked Congress and Republicans specifically not to vote on a solution when Biden was in office, so that he can take credit for this. But the problem is when you keep putting this to the forefront and doing things like we're seeing in LA, you're distracting from the bigger issue of trying to figure out what the real long-term plan is. You have to figure out what other policies you're going to push forward, because you're hanging your hat too far on this and you're hurting the people that voted for you. And so that is part of the issue I think that Trump is having right now, is trying to stand firm and being the strongest on immigration by doing the things like what he did in LA, which was totally unnecessary days ago when it first began, and now realizing that people are like, hey, we're not going to be able to run our businesses. We're already in a highly inflated economy. We don't know what to do next if we don't have workers to work these level jobs that Americans are not competing for.
Right.
So I think that, that's what's happening right now. And I think President Trump has to decide who's in charge. Are, Tom Homan and everyone who wants certain immigration policies leading him? Or is he going to make the calls? It's the same confrontation that he has with Elon Musk. Who's in charge? And so Americans who voted for him are wondering who is in charge.
I think Tom Homan wants to prioritize deportations of violent criminals. The person swimming against the tide here is Stephen Miller. Stephen Miller is the figure who wants to deport absolutely everyone, totally close the borders to legal and illegal immigration. I guess I shouldn't assert that without. I'm pretty sure that's his view. He wants drastically less immigration, if not zero immigration, legal or illegal. That's his vision. It is not what Trump wants, which he has made clear. This is going to be too disrupting of industry to massively deport the entire labor pool. That's just not going to work. So there's plenty of a mandate to focus on the violent illegal immigrants and so on, not to do, because also the kind of domestic surveillance we're going to have to do, we're complaining about Palantir, things of that nature. The domestic surveillance needed to identify and deport and process all of the illegals. It's
also the mistakes being made by just saying, oh, visually you look like a migrant, so I'm going to harass you.
Right.
That didn't work with stop and frisk. That also doesn't work when we deport people to countries that they're not supposed to be deported to without due process. So it could just get out of hand for no reason. Everyone agrees that criminals should be out of the country. I don't think that no one has an issue with people coming here trying to work. Yes, people will prefer if they did it the quote-unquote right way, but I don't think that this is the time.
Yeah, I don't want to have to carry ID everywhere I walk, and if you get stopped by some authority, oh, see, I'm an American citizen, here's my American citizen card. I do not want to do that. I know I'm not very Hispanic looking, so maybe it wouldn't happen to me. But
Trump is going to have to answer to his contradiction, though. This is a huge contradiction in policy, and so he's going to have to try to figure out how to make that part of the base happy.
We shall see.
The Department of Homeland Security is slamming a senator for lunging at Secretary Kristi Noem. How Alex Padilla is responding, coming up next.